welcome to the Sunday night stream for CG Spectrum. I'm your streamer, Bryan Bentley. I am the department head of modeling here at CG Spectrum. For any and all of your modeling needs, go to cgspectrum.com/3D modeling. So yeah, this week I will be continuing work on the Paindrone bot from Creature Box. Go check them out. So basically what I've been doing over the past couple weeks, and this is taking me longer than I originally thought it was going to, but I'm having a good time. Hopefully you're having a good time watching it. Basically what I've been doing over the last couple weeks, I picked a robot. Let me pull up my handy dandy load. My handy dandy this guy. So I've been working on this guy for the last couple weeks. I think he's coming along pretty well. This is what I got so far. So started in ZBrush, brought a bunch of stuff over and started. I'm in the retopology stage now. So you can see some of this stuff is some edited Z remesher. Some of it's brand new. So this is just to show you. So you basically like interportability between the two. Like a lot of the tutorials and a lot of things out there is like, oh no, you can't use anything from ZBrush. You have to retopologize everything. And like the truth of the matter is with CG, it's like whatever works. Like sometimes you don't have time to retopologize everything. It would be nice if you did. Sometimes you don't. Like sometimes you just don't have the money or the time or both to do it. So I'm showing you techniques on how you can leverage kind of the stuff that comes out of ZBrush in Maya, and then hopefully we'll get a good render out of this in a couple weeks. I've been working on it on and off between streams, but mostly I'm just been messing around, fielding some questions. A lot of people have been talking about Maya and ZBrush. Maybe I'll chuck this into Unreal Engine, see what we can get out of this new real-time ray tracing. I have like this sweet RTX Quadro card that I'm pretty much not using. Hey Murat, what's up, man? How you doing? So yeah, so we're just gonna continue on. So the things that I've done in between the streams, I love that. If I ever had a band, I'd call it In Between the Streams. So I did retopologize this headpiece by hand because it was just. So even if I switch over to this guy, like that was ZRemesh, but it was still just way too heavy for what it was. And overall, I just felt a little gooey. Overall, like it felt a little wobbly. So chucked that over to Maya and did a quick retop on it. And so now, you press 3, it kind of stays all together nicely. It has those nice tight corners, and it looks like it's kind of like machined out of something. Now on this guy, this was a really challenging part, because there's not a lot of information about what's going on in here. Like there's even more information about like this little jaw piece that I've put in than this. So I kind of had to guess for lack of a better term. But yeah, like the arm has a lot of detail in it. Like if we look, the arm has like tons of detail. The legs have a fair bit of detail, but that face is just kind of just this black void. So I just had to come up with some stuff. Yeah, so what I'm doing now is I'm just going to work on the eye. So I was in the middle. I was literally in the middle of working on the eye, and I had to put it down. So sometimes that happens. So the main thing is when I press 3, I want these things to all stay together. So right now, this guy stays together. So that's 1, 3, 1, 3, 1, 3, like that. So I want these curved corners, and I want this to be nice and smooth. And then when I do this one, it falls apart. It turns into like this lemon wedge thing. So I want to fix that. And then once I'm done with that, I think I'll hop over and I'll go and grab the leg and bring it over, and I'll show you how just a little bit of rigging knowledge, like I said before, like kind of like what I did with the arm, can go a long way. So we'll talk about the very powerful aim constraints and parent constraints, and maybe an IK handle if I'm feeling saucy. Okay. So let's get into this. So what I want is when I smooth this, I want this to stay relatively crisp. I want this to stay relatively crisp, and the back of this is empty, so I'm not really worried about that. Relatively Crisp, another good band name. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go ahead and bevel these guys, Control B, and take this fraction, pull that down. Nice little edge there. I'm just going to give it 2 segments. Okay, so that should take care of that. If I press 3, that edge stays nice and clean. And then I'm just going to be able to do a edge loop cut here. And I'll do one here just for good measure, and I'll do one in the middle for good measure. And then what I'll do is, actually what I'm going to do here is I'm going to get rid of these edges. Because I actually want to go, I need to go across here. So I'm going to grab this guy. Go all the way across. And actually what I can do instead of that, instead of drawing, because this thing is so small. So I'm going to do vertex, grab this guy, and hello Pietro, how are you doing? Welcome, welcome. I'm going to grab this guy and that guy, and I should be able to say connect components. Whap, there we go. Fantastic. So then I'm going to do, let's see, X, and I'll connect this edge here. So if you hold down Control and Shift, it will make that 90 degrees, which is awesome. That's fantastic. So now I can just do this guy and that guy. Actually, no, I want this to be a quad, so I can do this, and this. I'll do connect components. So I think I might have flow turned on. So if you ever do that, like if I do connect components, and it goes bam like that, what it's trying to do is it's trying to do edge flow. So I'm going to do connect components, Control and Shift, connect components, and I'm going to go to my options, yeah, and insert with edge flow. That was turned on. So if I say apply now, it's just going to put it directly where it needs to be. Good, good. I like modeling. I know some people, like a lot of people like modeling. I don't think I've ever met anyone who's like, I don't like modeling. It's nice. It's like this, it's very therapeutic for me. Like, it's not super technical. I mean, it can be, but it doesn't have to be in general. Like, you can just it's kind of like the same stuff over and over again. Okay, so I have this quad, this quad, this quad, this quad, and I believe everything right now is 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, okay, so I need one more line here. So I'll go from, I'll just stick a, just put a line there. So I have this kind of like floating vertex, and I'll go to vertices, and I'll say connect you to you, connect components, and I'll connect you to you. So let's smooth that, and ooh, very nice, very nice. So I'm getting a little bit of tearing here. So let's look at that. So let's just do a, and actually I think what I want to do, instead of bringing this across, now I think about it, let's do, actually, you know what, I think that's okay. It's going to be really, really small. What I could do as well is maybe, let's do face, 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 face. Let's do a teensy little offset. Yeah, that'll work. That should work. Modeling is very relaxing. Yeah, I like that. That's a little bit better. This is a really small piece, and I'll probably spent too long on it anyway. So let's go back. Okay, cool. So there's my eyeball. So I'm gonna get rid of this guy, and I'm just gonna mirror this over. So I'm gonna save this first. Increment and save. So I think that's why I stopped the last time, is my Maya crashed on me when I tried to mirror it. So I'm going to do mesh, mirror. I don't want to cut geometry. I don't want to merge with my original. I want to move in the positive X axis. Yeah, there we go. Cool. Alright, so I got my eyes done now. Alright, so let's go get our foot and our leg and start working on that. Now this is going to be a doozy because this is what I've been dreading. I've been dreading doing this one because it's one of those things where, let's see, I took and I kept my leg back up around for this reason. I kind of knew I was going to end up going into Maya. And I'm before anything, the first thing I learned to do in CG, oddly, was rigging. So it seems like I always feel like whenever people, it's like the first thing you learn to do, that's what you stick to, and that's kind of what you always, you know, fall back on. And the first thing I learned to do in CG was rig, which is very strange. The first thing most people learn to do is model. So I'm a very strange like outlook on computer graphics in general and CG. Yeah, and so I always think about, like, I try to think about pivots, especially when I'm doing robots and stuff. I try to think of pivots and like, what am I going to do later, and like, how am I going to build this thing later. So I tend to, like, stuff like this, I tend to try to put it at the origin and move it, but I always keep a copy kind of hanging around. So yeah, my throat is really, really dry this evening. I don't know why. It's a monsoon going on in Hong Kong right now. Doesn't look like it outside, but there's a monsoon going on right now. It's kind of crazy. We've had 2 monsoons in the last week, or last 2 weeks. All right, so I'm gonna do the same thing as I've been doing. I'm gonna grab this folder and I'm gonna export all of that. So I'm gonna do Z plugin, subtool master, folder only, do export, OBJ. We'll call this leg. For retopo. So that. So I'm gonna go through all through, spit those out, and then I'm gonna go to my foot as well. Grab. Oh no, that's my foot in space. I want my foot back up here. So I'll hide that. So I'll take my foot as well. So I'll take that and same thing. So export. So we'll do this as foot. Alright, so switch back to Maya. Let's bring that in. So let's move, I'm going to move this guy off to my other screen, just briefly. And file, import. Let's go to my... I go to this enough, I should have it hotkeyed. I always have to remember where I put stuff. Let's see. CG Spectrum, projects, stream, Paindrone bot. There we go. I want to import OBJs, not audio, OBJ. All right, there we go. So there's leg for retopo. So bring that in. There's my leg, and I got all these groups. Get rid of those. Don't need those. What's this? Oh, that's my head and stuff. So let's take all of this and group it. Call this head. All group. It's always really important to be organized. Yes, I am in Hong Kong right now. I actually might be in Hong Kong all the time. I live in Hong Kong. It's a great place to be, especially because they've done very well with the whole pandemic, and we can We can go outside and we can go to restaurants and bars and stuff. So it's nice. So I think I did finish. I did finish the body last time. Yeah. So I'm gonna call this body all group. Okay. So so I have this guy. Is ooh, I want to bring in the foot as well. So file, import. Where do I put it? Projects, stream, calendar bot. So foot. There we go. So okay, so I want to start to rebuild this because this is way too heavy. This sphere is way too heavy, and I kind of want to put some maybe some sort of greeble or something on the side of this, and the foot actually is not bad. I might actually be able to use that as is. I may have to so I'll probably have to fix like this and some of this stuff, but like a lot of this is not too bad. Like I might like take away like every other span or something like that, but it's not too bad. So this is, like I said, like you don't have to rebuild everything from scratch all the time. Like you can use a lot of what's already there. I'll probably fix this madness overall and get it to nice and clean like the top of this. This character is from, like I was saying, it's from this book called Paindrone. It's an art book by these guys at Creature Box. They are amazing. I have a bunch of their books. You should definitely go check them out. They're really fantastic artists. They were responsible for a lot of the original Ratchet and Clank artwork. They're super awesome. They're not paying me to say that. They don't know me. I don't know them. If you're watching this, hi guys, shoot me a line. That would be awesome. You'd make a fanboy's day. Okay, so yeah, so let's start to split up this leg. So I'm gonna hide the foot for now because we may or may not get to that. So the difficult thing about this part is we have this very round piece going into this very straight piece, going into this very round piece, going into this very straight piece, going into this piece, which is bonkers heavy. So this one, most of my detail is around. So I think what I'll do is, we'll get to that. So first thing, as always, I'm just gonna hide everything else. So let's hide everything else. I just want to focus on the leg for now. This is some original stuff. Yeah. All right. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to split this apart. Say separate. Okay. So I want to find. First thing is I know like when I made this a perfect sphere, and then when I made this. So let's see. How do I want to do this? Do I want to use the topology that I have? Or do I want to redraw? I think I'm going to redraw. I think that's going to be the easiest to do. And I think, actually, I'm going to do my low-hanging fruit first. I want this guy to be... I'm going to start with this, and I'll work my way out. Because this is, like, the most kind of consistent thing on here. It's just a cylinder with, like, this kind of leg tube coming out of it. So, yeah, I'll do that. I think that's a good idea. All right, so I want to find the center of this leg tube thing. So what I'm going to do is I will grab all of these verts and all of these verts, and I'll use my little cluster trick. I love the cluster trick. So whenever you make a cluster deformer, it puts the handle at the center of the verts. The centroid it's called. So I'm going to do good modeling, deform, I'm going to say create cluster. Bang. So show all. There we go. So now I have this cluster. Now I have this cluster directly in the center of this cylinder. So what I can do is I'm just going to actually replace this whole thing, right? Because this is really strange, wobbly. You can see it's got like a little bit of a twist in it. So I want that to be nice and straight. So I'm going to say create polygon primitive. I'm going to do cylinder. Once again, this guy's really small. So I'm going to start with maybe 16. I usually go in powers of 8. And I'm going to take my radius and my height way, way down. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to snap this guy, this cylinder, to this cluster handle. So I'm going to say snap you to you. I'm going to go modify, match transformation. Bam. All right, and now I can take this cylinder and hold down J and just rotate it 90 degrees. So now I can use my radius and my height. Yeah, so now I have this nice, perfect cylinder. Now, so what I want to do now is I want to, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to template this. So let's say actions, templates. Yeah, so I can see the outline of it, but I can't select it. I don't need that cluster anymore. All right. So I'm going to cut some loops in this guy. So I'm going to do one in the middle, boink, and I'm just going to do quads. Boom, boom. So I think what I'll do is I'll use the circularize function here. I love the circularize function. So I'm going to pick, let's say these 4 faces. Or maybe these 4 faces. Yeah. And I'm going to extrude them inwards. I'm going to do a little bit of an offset. Maybe a little more than that. Cool. And then I'll do shift right click and I'll do circularize components. Great. Perfect. So I can pull this out a little bit. So now I have this nice component that I can push, that I can pull out. So I'm going to take, actually I'm going to take the whole thing, make it a little bit bigger, and pull it down a little bit more. So pull this down a little bit. I'm actually going to cut another loop for that holding spot. So I'll do one here, and I'll do one here. Okay. So I did those so that when I smooth this, it stays round like that. All right, cool. Cool, cool, cool. All right, so now I want to make this thing. So I'm going to come to my side view. Right view. And I'm going to use extrude along curve because I'm lazy. So I'm going to create a curve. Curve tools, CV curve tool, and I'm going to go actually back to my perspective view. I'm going to snap this to that point first. So I'm going to hold down V, put that there, and then go back to my right view. And I'm going to do here, here, and here. So now I can control how this kind of comes out of that socket and how it bends outwards and bends inwards. Cool. All right, so I'm going to select my curve, and I'm going to select my faces. And as soon as I press Control E, we should see that bang that goes out. And I can say my divisions. And so there's my leg. So there's a bunch of different things I can do to this. I can say, I can taper it. Let's see what the taper does. So that makes it a little bit thinner as it gets down there. Look at that. And actually I might want to do that taper on my own. But let's check it out. So we have a taper curve. That's what I want. So I want it to stay big here and here. Actually, let's make it small at the top. Get thinner. And and then get bigger. No, it's not worth it. I'll just do it by hand. It's easier. Much easier to do it by hand. Cool. All right. So I want to make this. Grab this edge and that edge. Press B. Brush is way too big. And we'll just squeeze this down a little bit. So what I want to do is I'm going to press D. D for dog. I want to align this with that guy. And I'll hold down Control, and then I can just squeeze this in one dimension. Okay, I do the same thing here. Just gonna make that a little bit bigger. Bring my brush size down a little bit. Sweet. Awesome. Done. Easy as lip pie. So now I have a nice, clean, very, very clean surface that I can work with. Okay. Next thing is I want to make, if we look here, so I want to do what I call it repetition of design. So I have these little fins in here, and there's a little indication of them there. So I want to do the same thing on my arm as I did on my leg to make this thing look like it's kind of like a cohesive thing. So I'm going to bring back my arm. Or Crash Maya, one of the two. Could be crashing. Should have saved. These things happen. Apparently my Maya does not like me streaming and talking at the same time. Oh, there we go. Are you back? Yes? No? Maybe? Oh, good. Woo! Woo! Oh, increment and save. Oh, that was scary. That was super scary. All right, where's my arm? Jupiter or not right now. My dog is nosing me. My dog is nosing me right now. Give me a second. Come on, come on. Forgot to shut my door. All right, so there's my arm. I don't know why it's black. I'll figure that out in a minute. So what I want is I have, let's go. Yeah. All right, so I have these, I don't know why it's coming out black like that. Might have to restart. But I have these little fins in here that I want to replicate in here. So that's what I'll do now. And I'll figure out why my arm, I may have accidentally flipped my, did I flip my normals? Oh, that's what it is. So it looks like I may have accidentally pressed Control E. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to roll back to the last thing I did. So I'm going to take this guy. I'm going to export. Really, the only thing I've done is this. So I'm going to export this as an OBJ. And sometimes these things happen, especially when you're talking and trying to do this. I usually don't talk and model at the same time. I mutter to myself sometimes. I'm just going to chuck this on my desktop. TS. Okay, so let's go. Open scene. Should be working a project as well. Okay, let's see. That was 19. And it's let's go 18. Don't save. Cool. There we go. There we go. Back to what I had before. Actually, I just need to mirror this guy. Modify. Let's do mirror. Voila. Okay. File. Increment and save. Yes. File. Import. I'm gonna go to my desktop. Oh, I'll grab both. Can I do two? No, I'll grab my leg first, and then I'll grab delete, and then I'll go grab from my desktop. TS. All right, now we're back in business. Back in business. And I'll save this again. Cool. All right. So I'm gonna split. Do I want to split this part? I can leave that all as one thing. That's fine. Yeah, so we'll group these together again, and I'll rename them later. All right, cool. So the next thing, like I said before, I want to kind of copy this design element here, down here. So I have, like, this is kind of rounded, and then it's got these vents on the inside, and then it kind of comes in like that. So I want to do the same thing to this guy. So grab my edges. I'm going to bevel these. I did a pretty big bevel on the arm, so I'm going to do the same thing here. Maybe two segments, round it out a little bit. And then the same thing here. I'm going to do face, and I'm just going to extrude this inwards. So I'm going to push this in. Just so you can see it. Kind of bring it in a little bit like that. And then, so these hold, I'm going to do another bevel here, here, here. Do I want two segments? No, I think I can get away with one. Yeah, that's feeling pretty good. I like that. I like where this is going. Now, I could have actually used the geometry from ZBrush, but I just feel like it was just kind of twisted up here, and I really want this thing. I'm a stickler for mechanical stuff. When making a movie, like, for example, the Hulk, do they make the 3D model of him and rig him to make him do what they want to do in the movie? Drawn skull. Yeah. It's pretty much the same. Like it's pretty much the same basics. It's like there's a model, there's a rig, and then there's animation, and then there's lighting, and then there's rendering, and then there's compositing, and then also in there's character effects, and you also have like a bunch of other departments. But yeah, like it's pretty much the same thing. Now, like, they're doing it at a much higher level. Like I remember, like when I did work on the first Avengers movie, and I got to work on some shots of the Hulk, but he was like this big. He was tiny, but I still got to work on it. It was great. But his model was so heavy. His model was so heavy. Like if you turned on the wireframe, he was just like solid wireframe. Like you couldn't even see any faces, which is cool. How do I drag select multiple faces? So if so you can marquee select like this, and you'll get multiple faces like that. But what I like to use is, I think they call it like the laser pointer tool. If you hold down tab, this little thing turns into like a laser pointer, and you can just hold and drag, and whatever that laser hits, it will select. I use this a lot, especially when I'm trying to select end caps and stuff like that. Or if I'm just trying to select these four things, I'll just do tab and just kind of drag over them. It's really, really handy. Yeah, cool. Alright, So what I'll do is I'm going to take this guy, and I'm just going to duplicate him, Control D, and unparent it, P, and put it at the origin, or see what it was before I moved it. So he's pretty close. A little off axis, but he's alright. So I'm just going to line this guy up so he's straight. Or straight-ish. Doesn't have to be exact. Cool. And then I will snap this guy. Hold down V. Snap that to that middle part there. Make this a little bit bigger. So the reason I'm doing this is I want, like I said, I want to repeat this design element. So I have like this up here, and I kind of want to repeat that down there. I think I also want to rotate these a little bit. So what I'll do is I'm going to take a locator, and I'm going to snap that to. I'm going to snap that to here. Let's put that there, and I'll take and parent these to that locator. So now I can just rotate these like that. Now if I want the other side, I'm just going to duplicate. Actually, I think I'm on the center, so I can mirror these. Let's see. That, and I can do mesh, mirror. Let me save this. Learn my lesson from last time. Mesh, mirror. And I want to mirror in X and say apply. Let's see, did those go over? Yep, cool. So it looks like I'm not exactly on the center, which is fine. And, I'm going to switch this to world. And scoot these over. And I'll put them under that locator as well. So now I have like this little element, this design element, kind of repeated here and here. So it kind of looks like a cohesive object. All right, next thing is this stuff. So I think I'm going to start with, I'm going to untemplate this. And I'm going to do the same thing as I did before. Let's save this. Let's separate this. And so I can hide this part because I'm kind of done with it. Boom. And actually, what I think I want just a little bit more embellishment. Like, I feel like this is kind of boring right now. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just drop some edges in here. I'll bevel these. And I'll take those faces and extrude them inwards. Just to get kind of like a railing kind of look. Just to give it a little kind of some sort of detailing in there. I just feel like that's just, it's really flat. I feel like it just needs a little oomph in there. Just something that looks cool that'll like kind of like catch light. 3 different modeling courses on the website: Introduction to 3D Modeling, 3D Modeling Diploma, and Advanced 3D modeling diploma. Which should I take first, or what is necessary? What's the difference? Oh, this is a really good question. Okay, so drawn skull. So we have right now. So we're in a really exciting time. We are rolling out some brand new content coming up. So there is an advanced. There's a diploma. There's an intro to modeling diploma, and there's an advanced diploma. The intro to the modeling diploma will basically take you from nothing, right? Like, so if you've never used Maya before, if you've never used 3D entertainment or digital content creation packages, that's where that one starts. I would suggest, if you don't already have a fair bit of experience in using entertainment entertainment CG packages, that you start with the intro. If you have like let's say you have like if you've done like some ArchViz rendering, or if you've done like things like a product design or something like that skill set will help. But kind of when you jump into entertainment stuff, it's a little bit of a different ball game. So unless you've done Maya and you've done a little bit of, you know, maybe 3D Studio Max, or if you've done a little bit of Blender, or even if you have done Blender, the industry standard is still Maya. Like, Blender's making a really like kind of strong showing lately, but and maybe it will be adopted as a package of choice for newer companies. But right now, Maya is still, you know, the soup du jour. So you kind of got to know Maya to get a gig. So if you've never used Maya before, I would highly suggest that you take the intro to modeling diploma. Now, if you use Maya before, or if you've dabbled in Maya, or if you've done a little bit of ZBrush, right, and you want to augment those skills, like you kind of want to take those skills to the next level, I would suggest taking the advanced course. Yeah, that's the difference. That's the difference. And I'm just playing around now. Maybe adding too much detail to this, but I love making mechanical details. So I'm just gonna take and just duplicate this face. I'm just gonna pull this out just a bit. And I'm going to grab these and I'm going to extrude those. Control E, pull these out. So really all I'm doing, it was like what I'm doing is I'm just trying to make things that will catch highlight, moreover. Now the problem with this is, the more of this type of stuff you build, the more of this stuff you have to UV map. So I'm probably digging myself a relatively deep hole right now with this, but it's all pretty much cylindrical stuff, and I think that'll look really nice once we get some materials on it. Yeah, it kind of looks like a gasket sitting on the inside of there, like that. I feel like these are a little bit too thin. Feels like they kind of like rattle around. So I'm going to say modify center pivot. Let's kind of pull this out a little bit. Yeah, that's cool. I like that. Looks nice. What if I took Foundations of Visual Effects Diploma? Could the introduction go straight to advanced modeling? It depends. Like, what did you do in in the foundations of visual effects, that's mostly is that compositing or Houdini? I can't really remember. But I would still, like, unless you've done extensive modeling, I would suggest going into the intro. You will always learn, always learn new stuff. So yeah, that's what I would suggest. Soften harden. That's what I wanted. Cool. So I'll do that to that, and I'll do that to the same thing, just so I can get kind of a, yeah. So I'm getting a nice visualization there. Cool. All right. Now the hard part, or the harder part. Let's see. How do I want to do this thing? Do I want to? I think I'm still going to keep these. I don't want to make this all one piece, because I think if this thing was built as a machine, like, this piece would be built, and then it would be kind of like attached to this, like, somehow. So yeah, so I think that's the way I'll do it. But what I think I'm going to do is I'm going to make a squircle for this guy, because I want things to go around like this, but then I also want kind of like a neater here. So I love squircles. They're amazing. They're the best thing ever. So how you make a squircle in Maya is I'm going to say create. I'm going to just start with a cube. And I think I'll do 3 by 3 divisions. Yeah. So I'll do that. And then what I'll do is I'll just drop a Sculpt Deformer in here, and it will bloat this thing out to a sphere. So I'm going to say deform. This is my substance painter and nuke. Oh yeah, cool. All right. My substance painter, Houdini, and nuke. What did you do in, like, so in the modeling courses were concentrated on asset creation. So modeling props, modeling characters, modeling environments. So I think, yeah, maybe you might be able to jump into the advanced course. Yeah, it's. I would say go online and look at the website and see if that fits your skill set. So I'm gonna do a Sculpt Deformer. That should, yeah. So that just bloats that guy out, bam, like that. So let's make this a little bit bigger. So now, if I smooth this, if I press 3, I get squircle. The other way to do this is, if you don't want to use a deformer, I can take and make another. I can make a sphere. So I can say create polygon primitives sphere, and I'll shrink this down until it's just inside of this guy, and I can do an attribute transfer. So I can say transfer your attributes to your attributes, and I can say mesh attribute transfer, and I want to transfer my vertex position and my vertex normals. So what it's going to do is it's going to suck this square down onto this sphere. So like, bang. Oh, no, I don't want UV space, I want world space. Apply. So now if I hide my sphere, go back to, so I get roughly the same thing. So if I take my sphere, so I make it bigger, it's going to do that. And the cool thing is about this, all my geometry, or all my history, my geometry history is still intact. So if I grab this guy, I go back to my polycube, so I'll do this until, that's a little bit too heavy. Let's do maybe 6, 4. Okay, so I think I'm going to do this one more time. So I'm going to actually freeze my, I'm going to edit. So this, flatten that out, edit, delete my type history, flatten this. edit, delete by type, history, flatten that. And we're going to do another projection, so project you to you. And we'll say, the other way you can do it is with a shrink wrap. So you can say deform, shrink wrap. Other way around. Cube, sphere. Deform, shrink wrap. Like that. Okay, so I'll delete my history on that. So edit, delete by type, history. Okay, so that's my squircle. It's not a perfect squircle, but it gets the job done. So what I want to do is I want to put this squircle in the center of this guy. So I'm going to use my I'm going to use my cluster trick again. So there's my cluster. So I'm going to say match you to you, modify, match transform. I'll take this guy, shrink him down. That guy. Okay. So I'm going to take this, I'm going to grow it until it's about that size. Actually, I don't want to hide that guy just yet. Yeah, he's about the same size. Okay. So I'm going to scoot. So it looks like my leg isn't exactly in the center. So I'm going to take this and kind of scoot it over until it sits in the center of that dude. So now, what I think I'm going to do is I'm going to take these edges and see, I'll take this edge and I'm going to flatten it, pull it out. Same thing for this one. So this is why I wasn't super worried about this being a perfect circle, because I was planning on putting some embellishments around this to look like it's like receiving this thing. Also, I'm going to put some embellishments on the outside of it as well. Right. So, I think what I'll do here is I'll do another bevel. I don't want to spend too much time on this because it is going to kind of be shoved up inside of his body. Just want to do a slide edge. And hopefully this is smart enough to not go the same way. Oh, I am not unfortunate. So I'm going to slide this out a little bit. Actually, you know what? I think I'll just leave it like that. That's good enough. So I'm going to do face, grab these edges, and extrude this out. So basically, I just want it to look like this is holding this thing somehow. So I'm going to do an extrude, Control E, and pull this out. You know, do thickness instead. Let's pull this out. Well, maybe I'll pull it in. Oh, actually, I like it better if I pull it in. Yeah, I like that better. So give me a little bit more. Do I want that to go out or do I want it to go in? I don't know. I don't know. Yeah, Henry, I have the same kind of problem. I want to use Blender. I really want to give Blender a shot. But like I'm so used to Maya. And I really think I don't think Blender or Maya is any better. One is any better than the other, to be completely honest. Like they're just tools, right? So everybody's like, "Oh, which one's better, Blender or Maya?" It's like it's whatever. First of all, it's whatever one you have access to. Right? Like if you're working in a studio and they don't have, you know, Blender or they don't have Maya and they only have Blender and they're paying you to do a job, you know, you kind of got to learn it. That's life. So it is what it is, right? But I'm the same way. I really want to learn Blender, but I've been using Maya for so long, and the muscle memory is there, so it is quite difficult. So I'm just trying to. I'm actually doing just like some kind of like design on the fly right now. I'm just trying to get a good look for whatever I want this thing to look like. I'm not really sure what I want it to look like just yet. And that's one of the other things that I talk about a fair bit, is that a lot of times there is no kind of straight road for this stuff. Like, people are like, oh, it's, you know, I have problems doing this, and it's not like in the tutorials and stuff. It's like, it's never gonna be easy. Like, it's not. And I think that's the fun part. I think that's the fun part of it, is like the discovery of stuff. That's what I really like. I like, you know, sometimes when you hit problems and you're like, oh, I don't know how to fix this. You got to find a way to do it, or there's, you know, you're trying to do something that isn't readily available on the internet to say, you know, press this button, press that button, press this button. That's where I have the most fun. Because if there's already a tutorial on it, it means that somebody else has done that before, somebody else has figured it out. Yeah, VFX and modeling, that's a great combination. It's a great combination. Build your monsters and comp them too. So I'm having way too much fun with this leg piece, if you guys haven't figured it out yet. I'll get moving on to other things here in a minute. I just had this really nice vision for what this was supposed to look like in my head, and I want to get it out. So same thing, like I'm trying to keep that design sense going with this piece. So Draw Skull, when you say you want to get into, you know, visual effects, what exactly are you talking about? Because visual effects is a very, very large field. I mean, you have lighting, you have rendering, you have compositing, you have, you know, you have fluid effects, character effects, muscle sim, rigging. Like, that's all under the umbrella of visual effects. I love Houdini, man. Like, I'm also teaching. I'm not learning Houdini, but like I'm adding Houdini to my skill set, and I think it's the future. It is fantastic. It's like it's such a good program. Real-time VFX for game characters. Okay, cool. Let's see. All right, cool. All right, I've spent enough time on this already. Do one more thing. Okay, so now let's work on. I'm basically just been hiding from this part. So I think what I'm gonna do for this part, maybe I will keep some of this stuff. I don't know. No. Stop being lazy, Bentley. Oh yeah. That's definitely that would definitely be Houdini. Actually, you know, Houdini they've been pushing their integration with Unreal Engine really, really aggressively over the past couple months. So I would look up, you know, obviously like the Side Effects Lab stuff. They're pushing really hard. Also, the integration with Niagara in Unreal is looking really, really cool. So that's what I would look into. Okay, so I have 1, 2. Let's see, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I have 8. So I have 4 and 4. So I think I'm going to do the same thing up here. So I'm going to duplicate these faces. Oh, yeah. 18.5 stuff looks really cool. Like, really, really cool. I'm really excited for the KinEffect stuff. So being able to treat character skeletons like geometry and being able to split out, like, basically turn time into space and then edit it and turn it back into time, that seems super cool. Like, I cannot wait for that stuff. I can't wait till, because probably in 19, I'm hoping they're going to add rigging into that and skin weighting. So hopefully you can have a full character pipeline, because you can have a full character pipeline inside of Houdini right now, but it's really clunky. But there have been people that have done it. There's like this great animated short called B is for Ben. I think that's what it's called. That was all done. It's like 100% done in Houdini, and it's very character driven. So anything's possible. It's just, whatever you want to do. So what do I want to do? What am I trying to do? Oh, yeah. Duplicate face. Yeah, there we go. So I'm going to give this just a little bit of leeway. So I have 4 faces here. And let's do 1, 2, 3, 4 faces there. Actually, maybe one more. 1, 3, 4. That's 4. That's 4. Yeah, that'll work. Let's duplicate face. Pull this off. Okay. So I have this object, and I have this object. And I want to merge them together. So what first thing I'm going to do is I want these facing outwards. They kind of have GPU. What is character effects? Character effects is basically any simulation that's attached to a character. So cloth for costumes and props, hair, fat jiggle, skin slide, deformation fixing. That's all called character effects. They have the GPU Karma is their new GPU based render. So if you want to start to get into GPU rendering in Houdini, look up Lops and Karma. Is it a bad idea for me to learn 3D modeling on Blender like I have for the past 2 months? And then just switch to Maya and take a CG Spectrum course. I'm planning to do so in about 2 years. Yeah, like the Venom Symbiote. That was a lot of character effects. I would say learn modeling on whatever you have available to you. If you have, Blender available to you, which I think everybody should have if you have a computer. The only limiting factor for you to have Blender is to have a computer that can run it. Learn modeling. Modeling is wonderfully one of those things. It's pretty much the same across all packages. Like, you just really use, extrude, cut, weld. That's about it. Like, duplicate, right? They're very simple tools. And modeling hasn't really changed in quite some time. So, yeah. So if you have Blender, you'll have at it, right? Once you learn to model, it's just about learning where the button is to slice faces or spin edges or whatever. It's all the same stuff. So I'm gonna reverse. So these guys. So this is on the outside, and let's combine these. Well, every software has its own kind of, idiosyncrasies, but overall, you can, it'll take some time. Like, I could probably learn to model in Blender. It would probably take me, about a month or two and a lot of cursing and swearing. But I could probably do it. Like rigging is a little different. Like rigging is completely different. Well, not completely different. Rigging's kind of a little bit different. Lighting and rendering is a little bit different. But modeling is very, very similar across most packages, except for Houdini. Houdini's like a whole different thing. Software can you learn for character VFX? You use Maya. Houdini is actually great for character VFX. Their Venom pipeline for costumes is amazing. Their grooming is also really, really good. And then as well, their muscle system is actually really good as well. So for character effects, Houdini, you can also use Maya. Like in-cloth is really good for cloth and fat effects. And then you can use in-hair and Xgen for hair and that type of stuff. So, yeah. So I'm going to, what I want to do is I want to bridge these two pieces. So I'm going to grab this guy, and that guy, and that guy. I'm going to say bridge. Good. So I want, how many divisions? Let's do 3 divisions. Let's see if I can do a blend. Negative. It's not bad. I might want to just go ahead and do that by hand, though. Let's see. Smoothing angle. Curve. I'll just do it by hand. It'll be easier that way. All right, so do the same thing out here. This is probably the most backwards way to model this thing, but basically modeling it from the inside out. And I'm losing my bearings as well. Oh, there we go. Bridge. So I'm going to take this middle guy and just pull that out a little bit. And it looks like I'm going to do this by hand. When all else fails, do it yourself. I'm just trying to get a nice smooth transition between these two. So let's bring back my other stuff just to see how this sits. Oh yeah, that's sitting very nicely. Very nicely. Yeah. A lot of the big studios they have their own software. I know I worked at Rhythm Hues and I worked at Industrial Light and Magic, and they both had their own special sauce. So, and this is why I say that it's really important. Don't really get caught up on software. Learn principles. Like, learn how polygons work. Learn what normals are. Learn how UVs work. Learn how, like 3D math works. Because when you get into these kind of big studios, they're going to have their own sauce. And if you're relying on Maya or Houdini or, whatever else to kind of get you through to, like, do the thinking for you, once you get into this new package, it's going to be really, really difficult to make a transition. Do you think I made the right decision to go to college for a BFA in film production instead of not and trying? That is an incredibly loaded question. I went to college. I have a master's degree as well. I don't regret getting it at all. There's a lot of, especially now with with COVID, people are saying, what should I go to college? Should I not? And really, there is, like, as long as you're doing something, to better yourself, whether it be taking classes at CG Spectrum, going to school, taking online courses, doing personal projects, as long as you are doing something to better yourself, it doesn't matter what you're doing. As long as you're making an honest effort to better yourself, Whether that's in an official sense or a non-official sense, I don't think it really matters. Now, I'm of the generation where my parents basically, they were like, if you don't go to college, we will disown you. And I don't think that's not the case anymore. Like higher education is not the end all and be all of, whether you're going to make it or not. A lot of very, very successful people I know did not go to college. Now, I'm not saying don't go to college. I'm saying you need to figure out what's best for you. That's the hardest thing. It's like when somebody's like, well, what do you want? You're like, oh God, I don't know. Right? That's the hardest thing, is just figuring out what you want. Once you figure that out, you just need to figure out how to get it. So yeah, that's my very non-committal answer to that question. But yeah, my answer, like, anytime you're doing something that you enjoy, that makes you happy, that's making you a better person, it's never a waste of time. And so I'm just filling in these edge pieces. And I'll bevel this guy up shortly. The type of movies I want to make are horror, sci-fi, action, comics. Currently on home writing stories, creating my own characters. That's awesome. That's awesome. I have no gift for plot. I can basically build anything. So we always need storytellers. Always need storytellers. Because I can build almost anything, as you can see. I just don't have. I'm not a storyteller. I'm a visual storyteller, right? But I'm not a, this then happens to this, and then therefore this has to happen, but then this happens. That is not my forte. So good on you. Okay, so let's take, and I'm gonna bevel these edges. Wow, it's already been an hour and 13 minutes. This is what I love about modeling. You can just kind of like lose yourself in it. I like that you guys are asking questions too. It keeps me on my toes. That's everything. This bevel may not work. I may have to do this by hand. Yeah, that's looking terrible. I'm gonna do it myself. I'm gonna do it myself. Will 3D artists still be a viable career option in 20 to 40 plus years? I'm currently a sophomore in high school and really interested in jobs, movies, and video games, and related to 3D. I'm scared of this. I'm scared of this. Oh, automation. Yeah. Like scared of some super advanced computer taking over my job when I'm older. That's a fear that a lot of people have, right? It's like, I for one welcome our new robot overlords, or whatever the saying is, right? There will always be, and this is my opinion, there will always be a place for creative people. Always. There's only so much a computer can do. There's only so much a computer can predict. There is, at least as far as I know, there is no way for a computer to replicate human intuition at this point. And even if it can, it's still a fallacy, or a very it's what's the word I'm looking for? It's just not the same, right? Like when you look at AI driven stuff, it's cool that the computer can do that, but it's just not the same, like as hand crafted human ingenuity. Like there's no substitute for that. And I don't see any substitute coming for that anytime soon. I mean, maybe eventually we'll have like an army of like Datas from Star Trek: The Next Generation or something like that. But at this point, I don't really see it. All right, I think that's good. I think I'm good on this. Could maybe do that a little bit tighter. Pull this in just a bit. Match that up. And so let's smooth all this and see what we get. My gimbal is going crazy right now. Let's turn off a wireframe, just have a look. Have a look-see. There we go. Yeah, that's not bad. I'm liking that. I'm liking that look. It's nice, controlled. I'm liking this little greeble up here. So I'm good. And actually, along those lines that you're talking about, with like things taking your job and things like not working or being replaced by a machine, people are that's always going to be a concern. It's always going to be a concern. Never be afraid, and that's why I'm like, keep learning. You always have to keep learning. So like right now, I don't. When I started out, I didn't do any. I've never done anything in games. I've never done any real-time rendering. And so now, like, everybody's super geeked about this real-time ray tracing and this stuff and the other. So, like, I need to retool. Like, you're constantly learning. You're constantly changing. So it's not like you go to school and then you learn a bunch of stuff and then you're like, oh, I'm done. I never have to learn anything again. It's never, ever ending. You're always, especially in this industry, you're always learning new stuff. All the time. Like, you know, substance designer and substance painter didn't exist when I was in school. They like, that company did not exist. Houdini, as it is right now, when I was in school, didn't exist. So you're constantly going to have to be learning new stuff. Nice, good. We'll be happy to have you when you get here. Awesome, love to hear it. Love to hear it. All right. What was I going to do next? Oh yeah. So I've pretty much finished my leg. I think I'm gonna save. Let's see if I can do the sock real quick. I really want. This is like really tense for like something so small. So let's see if I can. I'm basically gonna do the same thing. I'm gonna rebuild this just with like less pieces of geometry. So let's see. How do I want to do this? How can I show you something new? Let's do this. Yeah, I worked on one animated film. It's called Rango. It was about like a little lizard that was lost in the desert. Voiced by Johnny Depp. It didn't do so hot, but it's a really, really fun film. If you haven't watched it, if you haven't seen it, I highly recommend it. It's good fun. rid of that. And let me save. And I'm going to bring in my foot now. Save scene. Let's say import. I'm going to go grab my foot. Nope. Dropbox. There we go. Contract work. Spectrum. Projects. Stream. Go grab my foot. Foot. To retopo. Bam. Okay. So let's start working on this foot. So I'm going to group all this stuff together. So those are my vents. There's my upper leg. There's that leg. And this guy. We'll group all that. We'll call this leg. All. Cool. And so I don't need this cluster anymore. And so there's my foot. So I'll take this. And this will be up here. Call this face. All group. Yeah, it was a really fun movie. I feel like it was just too weird. It was too weird for people to wrap their head around. They're like, is this supposed to be a children's film? But like people are like missing eyes and legs, and they're talking about killing. Like it's very strange. The snake in that movie was phenomenal, amazing. Each one like this, each one of his scales was a model. Like it wasn't a texture. All of his scales were actually modeled. All right, so I'm gonna grab all this. I'm just gonna delete the history on all this stuff. All right. Okay, so foot. So we'll work on the foot now. I don't want to do this. Let's separate this. And let's view. Yes. Okay. So actually, this is pretty good as it is. It's not too bad. I think I might just like this is all right. That's all right. Rarely ever gonna see that. Rarely ever gonna see that. Actually, this is pretty good to go. What I think I will do is I'll just add like a teensy bevel and maybe get rid of like every other one of these spans just to lighten it up a little bit. Also want to make an animated movie because a few concepts. Yeah, animated films are a beast. They take so much work. Like so much work. Like I don't think people really realize how hard it is to make an animated film and make it like good. Like they're so difficult to make. Because you don't like it's like you have to make everything. Like nothing is made for you. Like you have to make the entire world yourself, which is bonkers if you think about it. So here, like I'm just kind of I'm just taking the geometry that came out of ZBrush and kind of just adding to it. Let's bring back the rest of the foot. Let's see where this goes. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna make just like a little receiving bit. I don't even know how this guy would walk, to be completely honest. Oh man, Tim Burton is amazing. I got a really good chance. He had an exhibition that came to Hong Kong, and it was amazing. It was just mind blowing how just talented that guy is. So that was really cool. I got a chance to go see that, which was really, really, really fun. So what I'm doing now is I'm gonna try to straighten out this guy. See if it'll let me. Yeah. And then we'll just push this forward a little bit. I'm just gonna. I'm just trying to make some room for the foot. Yeah, I usually worked with just a few specialists. So when you work in larger-ish studios, the question was, did I work with large teams or did I work with a few specialists? So when you work in larger studios, things start to get really, really, what's the word I'm looking for? Specialized. Like, so there's like one guy who does modeling, or there's actually one guy who just does like characters, one guy who does backgrounds, and one guy. So you have your team, and then even within your team, you have people who do certain things, like who are really good at, like, so we had a guy who was really good at rigids, and a guy who was really good at cloth, and a guy who was really good at building hair, and so on and so forth. So it depends on the studio you're working at, and just like kind of like the organizational structure of the studio. So here we're seeing the Z remesher curse, right? This spiral that just kind of goes everywhere. So I might end up actually remeshing this thing by hand. But like I said, it's a foot, so it's not super neat. But what I would like is I would like to get this, like, this feels a little wobbly as it's coming out of ZBrush. So I'll probably go through and Z remesh that like I did the face, or not Z remesh, but just remesh this like I did the face so that it's nice and crisp. This one is looking pretty good. This is actually looking really good. So I'm not really worried about that one, but the other one. Oh, thank you, Rushback99. It's coming along. It's coming along. It's taking longer than I thought it was going to, but sometimes these things happen. Mechanical things always take longer than you think they're going to. Oh, that's very nice of you. Can't wait to have you in my class. Yeah. Sometimes. All right, got about half an hour left. Still moving along quite nicely. Quite nicely. All right, I think that's pretty good. That's pretty good. And then I think what I'm gonna do here, I'm just gonna make a little receiver for this. So I'm gonna do face, and I'm gonna get rid of just these faces in here. Oh my god, multicut was, I remember, I'm gonna sound like an old man, but I remember when multicut didn't exist, and the Maya knife tool was just absolute garbage. It was so bad. Like that was like the bane of everyone's existence. Like you couldn't cut across. You had to cut like one loop at a time. It was a pain. But now they eventually saw the light, so it's all good. Yeah, like that. I just like that it's like it's going. It's not just like crashing in. Like it's not like crashing into it. Like it's like actually going into that tunnel. I might do the same thing for here when I do the when I get the sock working. Like add just like a little kind of hole for this thing to punch into. Probably not this one. Probably make like a. I might make another little sock that holds this thing on. I don't know. I don't know what we'll do. Let's see. What do I want to do with this foot? Do I want to? Do I want to quad draw this bad boy? Nah, I'll go work on this one. Being very lazy. It's getting near the end of the stream, so I'm starting to get lazy. I've also been modeling all day. I had the day off today, so I've been very, very much modeling like all day. So brain's a little gooey right now. Who's on a dream about something that is so big? I write about my dreams in a dream journal and use them to make stories out of them. Yeah, that's awesome. Like dream journals are amazing. I use I do a lot of performing and improv, and whenever I think of stuff, I'll write it down. I have a little notebook that I carry with me. It's a really good practice. It's a really good practice. Rogue vertex there. So let's bridge this. Oh wow, bridge the whole thing. Okay. All right, so let's start cutting this up because I have this gigantic ingon down here. Start giving this some form. Let's see. So these are going to make loops all the way around. So pretty sure they make loops all the way around. They do. Or they should. We'll find out if they actually do. You never know with Z-Remesher. Kind of does its own thing. And you just kind of have to sort it out. Is the pay of a 3D artist good? Yeah, it is. If you're good, that's the thing. It's especially with modeling. Modeling is kind of one of those things that's like it's part of the reason why I actually didn't do modeling out of school is that it's like I saw that everyone I knew wanted to be a modeler, and I just didn't like. I like modeling, but I don't have that passion, that super deep passion for it. And if you want to do this for a living, you have to be really, really good at it. Just because the amount of people that want to do it is very, very high. So I found that I really enjoyed, when I first started, I actually really enjoyed rigging more than anything. So I ended up becoming a rigger because not a lot of people wanted to be riggers, and I found a niche. So I ended up rigging and modeling some of my friends' characters, and that's how it went. And I found a job because so many people wanted to be modelers and animators wanted to be riggers, and somebody has to build all this stuff. So that's how that goes. Great, great. So since we're getting near the end, next week this stream will be moved to Wednesdays. So Wednesdays it'll be 7 p.m. Hong Kong time. I'm not really sure what that is in UTC, but you can check our YouTube, our Twitch, and our Periscope for the next times. So thanks for hanging out, Draw Skull. I'll see you next time. Just adding a little bevel to the bottom of this to kind of seat it down a little bit. Yeah, so that's nice and clean now. Yeah, that feels good. And I think what I'll do is I'll kind of do the same thing as I did before. I'll just make a little kind of like gasket thing that goes on here that'll kind of suck to that part. Yeah, I will do that. I'll do that with the... what time is it for me now? It is 11:40 p.m. It's almost midnight here in Hong Kong. I am a vampire. And actually what I think I want to do is I think I want to move this whole thing forward just a little bit so I get some room for that gasket that I'm making. Alright, so for this receiving part, I'm going to make like a little gasket that goes on here. So I'm going to make this part live. And I'm going to go and use my quad draw tool. Let's put a point here and here and here. Yeah, that's too far out. Turn on my wireframe so I can see. I'm just going to try to match this up as best I can. And then I'll just doop, 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 doop. Sweet. So the reason I'm using the quad draw tool here is so it conforms to this guy. So it's got that kind of like very subtle swoop to it as the same swoop as the foot. Awesome. So I'll just take this guy and extrude that out. Just a touch. And then, so I want some holding bits for the bottom. Let's turn this off. Turn that, and that, and then bevel these edges. Let's see, I don't need these back edges. So I'm trying to make sure I get rid of stuff that I'm not going to need later, because I'm gonna have to UV map all of this at some point. So I'm trying to keep it as light, or not as light as possible, but like as efficient as possible. And actually, if I'm going to bevel these, I don't need those holding loops. I think because this thing is so small, it's not beveling. Yeah, so let's try this one at a time. Control B. Yeah, this thing is like absolutely tiny. So, before I head out, is Venom Symbiote an example of character VFX? Yes, yes, yes it is. the slime that kind of comes off of him, is that some of that was actually really interesting, because some of it was animated because they wanted it to be art directable, and some of it was simulation. So that was actually a really good example of character effects. What is going on with my... Something going on here. What are you doing? There we go. Some rogue vertici. That could have been why my bevel wasn't working. Yeah, let's try that again. There we go. Now the bevel's working. Yay. Cool. 2. And just for good measure, drop 1 here. Yeah, no, back. So I have like nice little, just like receiving gasket thingy. Anytime you have something going into another thing, I like to have like some sort of thing that just says that that belongs there, and it's not just kind of like plastered on. And do you know what are the main activities of a technical artist? No, that's what I'm here for. Technical artist, it kind of depends on the studio that you're at. Technical artist is a really generic term. So technical artist can mean anything from, animation cleanup to someone who writes tools, to someone who manages pipeline, to someone who does, simulations. Technical artist and TD, they're very, very general terms. So if you're looking at a job posting that says technical artist, you should really, really look at the job description. That's going to be more telling than the actual job title. Yeah, so that is, I like that little bit of detail in there. Okay, what else? All right, let's just go ahead and do it. Let's quad draw this thing out, because this geometry is just too bonkers for my comfort. I thought I could leave it, but I can't. I can't do it. I got really lucky with the arm stuff that I didn't really have to redraw a lot of it. But for this is just too bonkers for me to deal with, to let go. So let's say this, and actually let me isolate this first, and then make it live. And we're gonna go into our quad draw tool, and let's just start. I'm going to actually start really big. Because this is relatively straight. It depends. If the question is a texturing artist and a modeler a job? Yes, they're both jobs. Depending, excuse me. Depending on if you're in games or if you're going into film and visual effects, sometimes the modelers also handle the texturing in video games. Generally, in my experience, in visual effects, modeling and texturing are two different things, or they're two different departments, but they are both professions. So I'm just trying to get the general shape of this thing before moving on to like more detailed stuff. This thing is a very strange shape. It's going to take a little bit of squidging to get it to behave. It's always, it seems like it's always, for me, it's always the really, really simple shapes that are always the hardest to manage. Make this ridge. The question is, if you want to specialize in fur and texture, is that a well-seeked job? Yeah, fur, yes. There's not a lot of people out there who know how to do fur. It's a really, really specialized field. I remember that, like, I got into fur kind of by accident, to be completely honest. Like, I interviewed for a job the job was technical animator, and all I saw was animator, and so I applied for it, and somehow I got the job. So then I became a fur person, and now here I am. So, yeah, fur, like, grooming artists, hair simulation, that is all very, very sought after because it's really technical. So you have to know, you have to know your maths in and out, and it's just not something that a lot of people think about as a job. Like most people think, like we've been talking about modeling, animating, rendering, compositing. People don't really think about being a fur artist as a job. So it's it can be quite lucrative. Let's see, what am I going to do with this? Yeah, that'll work. Not super happy with that, but it'll do for now. We got about 10 minutes left, so we'll try to keep it. So not too much lighter than what we had before, but it's pretty good. It's pretty good. Just gonna relax this out. Make sure that ridge stays where it needs to be. Relax the rest of this out. Yeah, if you're really interested in fur, like, go for it. I would say look at the Houdini stuff. There's actually a really, really good presentation. I can't remember. I think it was DreamWorks. They were talking about how they use Houdini in their hair pipeline. It's whatever studio did Peter Rabbit. I think it's the same studio that did Paddington Bear. They just did a presentation maybe a couple months ago on how they did their fur pipeline. It was a really, really good presentation. So I would check that out. If you're interested in that sort of thing. Okay, so it looks like my non-laziness has paid off. So this is, I'm liking where this is at. Could be a little bit tighter, but it is the foot. So I'm not super concerned with, if people are really, really looking at this guy's feet, I've done something wrong. So let's hide this and see what we get. Yeah, not bad. Yeah, it's nice and clean. So what I can do for these parts that I want creased, I'll just bevel that edge. Actually, I'll do it. Let's see if I can bevel this. Tighten that. That's not really giving me much. That is doing starting Houdini with a flip simulation. That's brave. That's brave. I tend to tell people, if you really want to get into Houdini, I would say start with the geometry context. Like, so dealing with points, mostly with points and points and primitives and attributes, because that's pretty much what Houdini runs on. Everything, almost everything Houdini does is an attribute or a primitive. So that's how I learned. I just started, you know, messing around with the SOP context. But, you know, if you want to jump in and do flip simulations right off the bat, that's one way to do it. All right, so we're almost out of time. So I'm just gonna go ahead and try to bridge this bottom piece. Oop. Now we'll do it one at a time. 1, 2, 3, maybe 3 at a time. Yeah. That's a 4. That is a really ugly polygon, but I'm okay with it, because what I'm going to do is just cut this down the side. Understand how the Geo, yeah. Most people do, and I feel like I took a little bit strange route into Houdini, because that's what kind of gets most people into Houdini. They want to know about simulations and things like that. So I actually started with rigid body simulations in Houdini, and rigid body simulations are kind of like the gateway drug to the geometry context. So that's how I started out. And then I also started out doing a lot of vex coding. Man, the underside of this foot is atrocious. Let's see. I don't need that one. I do need the really, all I want is that bevel, the little underscoop. Yeah, that works. I'm okay with this. I'm okay with this. Great. Awesome. All right, cool. So we've legs pretty much done. I'm probably gonna add just one more, like a little gasket like this here, and I'm gonna call that done. And so I'll probably do the sock and I'll put in this hole. So this gasket, the sock, and the hole, and then I'll call the leg done. And yeah, so he's moving along. So just gonna do, I'll plug that into here, maybe do a little bit of posing and such, and then so that will be one leg, and the other leg, we got the arm, we got the leg, got the head, or the face, and then so next week we will work on the head and kind of like the big brain inside. Let's field some last minute questions here. Do you write any add-ons for Maya? I want to know, should a 3D artist know to write and no math? The answer is yes and yes. So I used to do a lot of Python coding for Maya. So I think every artist should know, especially 3D artists, not every artist, every 3D artist should know a little bit of scripting. Not so much coding, but scripting, like tactical scripting, like things that make your life easier. Like if you find that you're doing the same thing over and over and over and over again, that's a candidate for writing a script or getting somebody to write a script for you or writing one yourself. Code, I don't know why, but coding has this like weird kind of mystique to it. People think that only super geniuses can write code. It's not. It's just instructions. It's really all it is. It's like, hey computer, do this thing 1,000 times for me, or do this thing 5 times for me, or name all this stuff, some variation of this thing. That's really all it is. So yes, I think like if you're working in CG, you should know a teensy bit of Python. Python is a very forgiving language. It doesn't have a lot of syntax. You don't have to compile it. Python runs in Maya. Python runs in Nuke. It runs in Houdini. It runs in, I think it runs in Blender. I'm not really sure though. But yeah. And then, should you learn math? Yes. Like 1,000 times yes. Like, know math. You need to know math. Trigonometry, linear algebra. Those are the two big things, right? They will help you a lot. Like vector math, matrix mathematics, trigonometry, sine, cosine, arc cosine, that kind of stuff. It will make your life much easier, especially if you're going to get into doing stuff in Houdini. If you don't know how to do that stuff in Houdini, you will be at a loss, to be completely honest. That's enough, right? Like, if you know how to do that, yeah, that's, like, I don't know how to check spelling in Python. Like, I know how to make rigs in Python. So and Python's great because it has all these like little libraries you can plug into it that can help you out. Okay, great, yeah. So that's our Sunday stream. So the next time I'll be doing the stream will be on the 28th at 7 p.m. Hong Kong time. You can look that up in your time. So that'll be in like Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, like in 4 days. So hopefully I'll have some progress by then. If I don't, then you can tune in and you can see the progress on little Paindrone bot. He's coming along, right? From very, very humble beginnings. He's becoming much more production ready. So hopefully we can do something with this guy eventually. So thanks for coming in. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for the participation. Today was always have fun when I get to have a little conversation in my little box over here in Hong Kong. So have a good rest of the weekend, and I will see you in the next one. Deuces!